Employment Minister Tony Burke is set to meet with representatives from DP World on Thursday to try and help resolve the dispute, which is causing serious delays at Australia's ports. Dianne Tipping, the chair of the Export Council of Australia, who represents about 8,500 members in the industry, joins me now. Dianne, thanks so much for your time. Are you hoping for a really quick resolution here?
Oh, definitely. We all hope for that. We're just really pleased that there is a start to a discussion. That's something that will hopefully sort things out. But it's a better step than we have had for the last few weeks or the last few months, to be blunt.
Yeah, you've been in the industry a long time. How often disputes like this happen, and what sort of impact do they have on the immediate export sector?
Oh, there's been quite a lot of disputes over my tenure in trade, and they always have an impact. There's always an impact to both importers and exporters. There's an impact of vessels not calling, vessels not, or going past a particular port, not calling at that port. There's an impact of not meeting deadlines overseas. There's an impact of cargo perhaps perishing because of the agricultural or perishable nature of the product. There's a lot of impact, but the main thing is, most exporters just want this to finish and just want to get on with doing what they do well, which is exporting.
Yeah, you mentioned those cargo perishing. Say some cargo does get left on the docks and perishes before it's sent out for export. Who actually bears the cost of that loss of stock?
Oh, look, there's all sorts of things that can be done to claim some reimbursements, and insurance is probably the one area that all exporters look at quite seriously. But at the end of the day, it's the exporter and the importer that bears the final costs, and that happens with anything. And the consumers, if we're looking at importing, the consumers at this end, and if we're looking at exporting, the exporter either loses a deal or gets penalised, or the cargo is just not able to be used or regenerated in any way to make some money out of.
Obviously, the industry was heavily affected during that COVID period. I mean, how confident about the future are your members feeling right now?
Exporting or trade in general is still not totally recovered. We have some really good trade numbers out of Australia. We have our sectors that are doing well and always have done well. The agricultural sector, the minerals and energy sector, and services is bouncing back as well, our inbound tourism and our education. But generally, the general exporter, the SMEs who we primarily represent, they're doing cargo that is very competitive and very, very much they're fighting the rest of the world to get to sell their cargo to other buyers overseas. So they want to make sure that their cargo gets there, it gets there on time, and it gets there in good condition.
And we've also heard DP World, they're looking to raise their port fees over the next 12 months. So what does that mean for your members and then in turn for consumers as well?
It is discouraging that port fees, there's just been a newsletter come out that the fees are going up, I think in March sometime. We haven't had any traction back from our members as yet, but I did see an email that came in earlier today from one that I haven't responded to yet, and I will, that is asking about how come these fees are going up so much. We work through this with our exporters. The fees, Australia has in general very high land-based fees for trade, and that's something that's not just at the port, it's right across the whole land base of the system. It is a country too that lives fairly well, even though we're going through some difficult times at the moment with cost of living. We are a highly economically valued country, and we have higher costs than most other countries. We cannot compare to the rest of the world in most of our costs, but we need to manage them, and we need to manage them in many ways, not just trying to refrain or drop down the fees, or which no one wants to do, and no one in any business wants to put their fees down. We need to make sure we become more digitalised, more efficient, and more expert in what we're doing.
Yes, so say fees do go up substantially at the ports, are there then big flow-on effects to other parts of the supply chain where costs then rise as well?
They will on imports, definitely. On exports, it goes through to our export trade, and it's the buyers overseas that will get the increases in those costs. And that means we have to be more competitive and more able to liaise and negotiate with our buyers more efficiently.
Well, Dianne Tipping, Chair of the Australian Export Council, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you.